The waves crashed over Fusō's bow, spray lashed against the massive turrets. The battleship, a behemoth of steel, dared the typhoon's fury. Inside, men clung to railings, their faces pale. Fear hung heavy in the air. The storm mirrored the turmoil engulfing the world. It was 1944, and the Pacific War raged. Fusō, a veteran of countless battles, was sailing towards her destiny. The ship groaned, its steel bones straining against the relentless assault. Every creak, every shudder, spoke of the immense power of nature, a power that even this mighty warship could not ignore. This was no ordinary storm, it was a portent of the doom that awaited Fusō and the ambitions she represented. The storm raged on, a symphony of wind and water, a prelude to the coming storm of steel. Fusō's design was a testament to Japan's ambitions. She was a statement to the world. Japan was a force to be reckoned with. Her massive guns, her heavy armor, all spoke of a nation determined to challenge the established order. But her design also hinted at the flaws within those ambitions, flaws that would ultimately lead to her downfall. The ship was a paradox, a blend of innovation and tradition. She was a product of a nation caught between its past and its future, a nation struggling to find its place in a rapidly changing world. And as the storm raged around her, it seemed to ask a silent question: would ambition be enough to weather the coming storm? Japan's rise to naval power was meteoric. Humiliated by the West in the 19th century, Japan embarked on a rapid modernization program. They studied Western naval technology, adopted it, and then surpassed it. By the early 20th century, Japan had a modern navy capable of challenging the best in the world. This newfound power fueled Japan's ambitions. They sought to establish themselves as the dominant power in Asia, and they saw their navy, spearheaded by their battleships, as the key to achieving this goal. The Washington Naval Treaty of 1922, intended to limit naval armament, was seen as an affront. It restricted Japanese naval expansion and confirmed Western dominance. Japan chafed under these limitations. They were determined to break free from the shackles of the treaty and claim their rightful place in the world. Fusō, commissioned in 1915, was a product of this era. She was one of the first Japanese battleships designed to rival the best of the British and American navies. Her design was innovative, if somewhat flawed. Her 6 massive turrets, each housing 2 14-inch guns, gave her immense firepower. But her armor was insufficient to protect her from the ever larger guns being mounted on foreign battleships. In the 1930s, Fusō underwent a major refit. Her superstructure was completely rebuilt, her armor was reinforced, and her engines were upgraded. The refit was extensive, but it could not fully rectify the inherent flaws in her design. She was still under-armored and top-heavy, making her vulnerable to enemy fire and unstable in rough seas. But these flaws were overlooked in the rush to match the growing naval power of the West. Japan needed a powerful fleet, and they needed it now. The Iron Typhoon. The Battle of Surigao Strait in 1944 would prove to be Fusō's final battle. It was a chaotic, brutal engagement. American battleships, their guns blazing, lay in wait for the approaching Japanese fleet. Fusō leading the charge was a fearsome sight, her guns roaring defiance. But it was a defiance born of desperation. The Japanese fleet was outnumbered and outgunned. Torpedoes slammed into Fusō's hull, tearing massive holes in her side. Explosions ripped through her innards. Fires raged out of control. Still she fought on, her guns blazing until they fell silent, one by one. Then, with a final agonizing groan, she slipped beneath the waves, taking with her over 1,000 men. Her sister ship Yamashiro followed soon after, another victim of the Iron Typhoon that had engulfed the Japanese fleet. Innovation and defeat. Japan's quest for naval dominance led them to experiment with unconventional designs. The Ise and Hyūga, originally battleships, were converted into hybrid battleship-carriers. The idea was to combine the firepower of a battleship with the aircraft-carrying capacity of a carrier. It was a bold and innovative concept, but it ultimately failed. The converted ships were neither fish nor fowl. Their aircraft complement was too small to be effective, and their battleship guns were hampered by the presence of the flight deck. In the end, they proved to be costly failures, symbols of Japan's desperation to find a technological edge in a war they were steadily losing. A glimmer of success. In contrast to the tragic fates of Fusō and her ilk, the Kongō-class battlecruisers enjoyed a measure of success. These ships, designed by the British and built in Japan, were fast and powerful. They served with distinction in several engagements, proving their worth as valuable assets to the Japanese fleet. But their success was fleeting. As the war turned against Japan, the Kongos, like their sister ships, were relentlessly hunted down and sunk. Their fate, while less dramatic than that of Fusō or Yamashiro, was no less tragic. They were symbols of a fading glory, their demise a stark reminder of the futility of Japan's ambitions. From glory to dust. Nagato, one of the most powerful battleships ever built, met an ignominious end. She was present at Pearl Harbor, her guns opening fire on the unsuspecting American fleet. She was a symbol of Japanese might, her name synonymous with power and aggression. But by the war's end, Nagato was a shadow of her former self. Crippled and abandoned, she was used as a target in the Bikini Atoll atomic bomb tests. Her once proud form, now twisted and radioactive, served as a grim reminder of the devastating power of the atomic age. The pride of a nation, sunk. And then there was Yamato, the largest battleship ever built. She was the pinnacle of Japanese naval engineering, a floating fortress armed with the largest guns ever fitted to a warship. Yamato was more than just a ship. She was the embodiment of Japan's imperial ambitions, a symbol of national pride and military might, but her size and firepower proved to be her undoing. She was a tempting target for American aircraft, and in 1945, they found her. Swarms of bombers descended upon the giant ship, their bombs and torpedoes tearing her apart. Yamato, the pride of the Japanese Navy, capsized and sank, her short and tragic career a testament to the futility of war and the hubris of empires. The Floating Fortresses, Japan's Battleship Saga. The saga of Japan's battleships is a tale of ambition, innovation, and ultimately, hubris. These mighty vessels, products of a nation determined to make its mark on the world, met their end in a series of dramatic and tragic battles. Their stories serve as a reminder that even the mightiest creations of man are not immune to the vagaries of fate. They stand as silent monuments to the enduring power of the sea and the human cost of conflict. They are a reminder that true strength lies not in brute force but in wisdom, restraint, and a commitment to peace.